the earth. I see you, I see me. Lines fill your face.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I cannot stop smiling. I am just beaming from my heart and my soul. We are so grateful tonight to take this time to spend a beautiful hour with our beautiful sister, Charlie Lowry. Before we get our show on the road, we wanted to acknowledge the ancestors, indigenous people of these lands here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, also known as Ogaboge Owinge. And we also would like to acknowledge your ancestors from where you're beaming in from as well. So thank you very much. Okay, right down to it. Charlie Lowry, a musical powerhouse with a story and then some, from Pembroke, North Carolina, is proud to be an Indigenous woman belonging to the Lumbee Tuscarora tribes. She is passionate about telling stories and raising awareness around issues that plague underdeveloped and underserved communities. Sounds familiar. This is awesome. So before we go much further, let's go ahead and welcome Charlie Lowry. Welcome to Indigenous Ways Wisdom Circle. Thank you.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Charlie, and we'll go from there.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to have been invited to participate in this discussion and also to perform on Friday night for Indigenous Ways Music Festival. I am a singer-songwriter, also consider myself to be an artivist from the swamps of southeastern North Carolina. And so I'm happy that to be here as a representative of my people, of my communities, of my family, and to just build bridges, build bridges here in Indian country, East Coast and West Coast. I'm a big believer that once all our people, can come together, we'll be a force to reckon with. And I just want to be a part of that, bringing people together and building community in that way. So I'm happy to be able to share some of my original work that I've composed and, co-wrote with other Indigenous artists ever since I began my independent career as a musician back in 2005, 2006. So I've been performing quite a while and just always feel honored to be able to share my gift through song.
That is so beautiful, Charlie. Can you tell us how your music's going right now? Kind of give us a feel about what it feels like walking in your moccasins and your shoes today.
A lot of the performances that I've done over the past few years have been solo or duo performances. For over a decade, I was with a band that helped to form in Pembroke and in my hometown. It was called Dark Water Rising, and it still has a huge impact on my life. And that was really my first foray into live music performance or performing my original music, and started that band with very close friends, some of my best friends. And then I went through a series of challenges with my health and with my family, in particular my mother, and being tied down in that way. And I can elaborate later on if need be, but being tied down in that way just gave me more of an impetus to move forward with the dreams and visions that I've had for myself as an artist and as a person. And so once I had my second kidney transplant, just to give you a glimpse, I, and was on dialysis. I was determined whenever I got my transplant that I was going to go full force ahead with my career And, coming from a small community, we don't have a lot of outlets for music, for live performance and expressing yourself. I grew up singing in the church, but there are hardly any live music venues around home. And so I knew that if I wanted to make any kind of impact, I feel like I have to travel and connect with other people. And so once I got my transplant, I began the journey of practicing for 3-hour shows and learning how to hold down a show for that long on your own. And it's been challenging. Not only do I have to perform, but a lot of times I'll go places where I don't really know anyone, or it's just me and my equipment. And so having to learn how to navigate new cities and new towns and build relationships has also been a part of that. And it's helped me to grow as an individual. So I'm thankful for this journey that I'm on right now. And I'm fortunate for the past 2 years that I've developed great relationships with Indigenous folks all throughout the U.S. and Canada. And I've had opportunities to travel internationally as well, just sharing about our people and our plights in today's society. So it's a multifaceted journey. It'll definitely help one to become stronger. I'll say that. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I've always liked to travel and meet people, so it's nice to have that love for traveling aligned with my career.
I feel you, Charlie. I
know.
I get it. I get it. Done the road trails myself, the music circuit, national, international, solo, and with Elena mostly as a duo, and with IndigenousWays. So there's some really, really wonderful people out there to collaborate with that and other people that open a lot of doorways. I've been hearing all kinds of stuff about you in Indian country. I want to ask you about how, I understand you were a contestant in American Idol. How does that even happen?
Well, growing up, the show that was popular for me as a child, artist competition or singing competition was Star Search. And I never had the opportunity or maybe the backing to try out for that show, or never even the vision. But once I realized that I wanted to pursue singing and wanted to try to go for it and like really see it as something that was attainable, I started singing around our communities in high school and then in college at UNC Chapel Hill. And during my sophomore year, I decided to try out for season 3 of American Idol. I sat by season 1 and season 2 when the show came out, and I was like, man, that looks like something that's right up my alley. I'm going to try that one day. And then that day came during my sophomore year. I just told myself, I'm going to do it. Just go try. Just see what happens. And my first cousin, she took me to my first audition in Atlanta, Georgia, which is about 6 hours away from home in North Carolina. We hit 95 South and headed towards Georgia to audition at the Dean Dome. And that was back in 2004. I was 20 years old at the time. And one of my greatest musical influences, Aretha Franklin. And so I wanted to sing one of her, well, let me rewind. I grew up on soul and Motown, Southern rock and roll. And so I decided to audition with Tina Turner as my first audition piece, Proud Mary.
Wow.
And there were about 10,000 contestants at the Georgia Dome, and the producers had tables, like folding tables, lined up all across the field. And they gave you about 30 seconds to sing the song of your choice, verse and a chorus, pretty much. And if you advanced to the next round, you either went to the right, or if you were going home, you went to the left. And it was just as quick as that. They had everybody in and out. and I made it through the first round of auditions there at the Georgia Dome, and they invited me back the next weekend. And the next weekend I came back and actually performed in front of the executive producers of the show, or executive producer, Simon Fuller. And then after passing that round, I was invited back, I think it was a couple of weeks later, to Atlanta. And at that particular audition, I went in front of the judges. I performed in front of the judges, Proud Mary, and I got the ticket to go to Hollywood.
Wow.
That year, there were, that next round, there was going to be 117 contestants, and they were narrowing it down to the top 32. And out of all of my experiences in life thus far, I think that was one of the most challenging and anxiety-ridden experiences that I've had thus far in my life. They would, have us in the theaters at 9 o'clock in the morning, sitting there, not really knowing what we were expected to do to audition. And then we finally got the word around, maybe 1 p.m. We finally had someone from the show to communicate with us. So it was like a hurry up and wait process in a sense. And each day we had an audition round to go through and pass, which when you're watching from home, you don't see all of that. As a viewer, there was a lot that I didn't expect as a contestant, and I kind of had to just roll with the punches. And so we sit in the theater all day, and maybe they give you the assignment for the next day about midnight, that night in the theater, and you're expected to be ready the next morning at 9 o'clock in the morning to audition the next piece. And so we spent the wee hours of the morning preparing and just challenging. I say it was a crash course into the music industry. And so I made it past that 117 and made it to the semifinals, the top 32. And by the time I was cut from the show, there were about 16, or I was pretty much in the top 16 that year. And that was a pretty competitive year with Fantasia Barrino winning. And Jennifer Hudson was also a contestant that year. And with each audition, I remember just negativity creeping in my head and talking to myself and thinking small and saying, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. You might as well just get ready to go home. But once I stepped up to the plate and sang and gave it my all, I just kept passing auditions and just surprising myself just by trying. So that was a lesson learned as well. And I just learned a lot of lessons from the experience that I've used in my, over the 20 years that I've been in my music career.
That is so wicked.
It was a great experience. Yeah.
Did that help your music career? Just being able to put that on your resume? I made it this far, American Idol. Do you think that helped at all?
It helped. It helps. I guess it helps for presenters who are, yeah. I mean, once I was off the show, it wasn't like people, agents or booking agents or labels were beating my door down. I didn't have that experience. That wasn't my experience. My experience was to hit the ground and do it as an independent musician. And that's the way I've been doing it since then.
Oh, I love that.
Learning a lot and sending lots of emails, tracking down contacts, sending emails, trying to book shows, being your own agent, managing your own calendar along with creating, just you're always trying to find that balance.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really enjoy dealing with you one-on-one, me to you. Charlie, can you come be on our show? Charlie, can you come be a part of Indigenous, rather than going through a booking agent?
Yeah.
Everybody's got to get their cut, but it's just between me and you, and we make a Indigenous sister connection that says yes, and boom, you're here. That's what I'm talking about. So thank you. I will say a large part of my career the folks that have brought me on have been Indigenous communities and Indigenous talent buyers, and I'm forever grateful for our people. Yeah, there's something different about being provided a platform from an Indigenous conscious perspective and platform, as opposed to being given a platform because you're like the little brownie that's going to be in the lineup. You know what I mean? That kind of
That's right.
makes a lot of people feel like they're a bit of a token. And that's okay too. You know, if we got to do what we got to do to get into shows.
Yeah,
So
I always use those as opportunities to educate a lot of
yeah,
non-native audiences about our experience, and my experience in particular is growing up as a native in southeastern North Carolina on the East Coast. So
that's, you know what, that's the spiritual aspect about it. Like, you know what, I want to take this opportunity and I'm going to sing about it. I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to tell you the truth. And
mhm.
you don't have to read it in a book. Just come to my show or buy my CD. There you
Yeah.
go. That is so cool. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is about, I've been hearing buzz around about Eulalie, you know, but you know, when somebody says Charlie with Eulalie, automatically one assumes that you're a part of the band. Can you talk to us about what that connection is, please?
So whenever I was 12 years old, I was crowned a Junior Miss Lumbee as a tribal dignitary. And that afforded me the opportunity to really step outside of the community and try sing and learn more about our culture. That's where I learned a whole lot about who we were as a people, the Lumbee of today. And I started taking culture classes on that right on the outskirts of Pembroke at the North Carolina Indian Culture Center. And that place is very near and dear to my heart, that land is. And we had a longhouse there. And on Tuesday nights, we had our culture classes, and we were taught by a local artist and a Renaissance man, Carl Anthony Hunt, Reggie Brewer, a wonderful historian and culture worker and bearer and friend, and Pura Fay, Puda Fay. And I didn't know who Pura Fay was. She was just in our community, you know. I didn't grow up knowing her. And when I met her, she was our teacher at culture class. She started coming on Tuesday nights and teaching us traditional songs and dances that were ours, but I hadn't grown up knowing those songs and dances or knowing that we even had songs and dances. For all I knew, our language was gone. We didn't have any, you know, any ceremonies or songs to sing that were ours. But Pura Fay reinforced that. Pura Fay, along with Carl Anthony and Reggie, reinforced that to a group of us known as the Seventh Generation Society. We were a group of teenagers between the ages of, I'd say, like 9 to about 16 or 17. And we developed an unbreakable bond. We're still, all of us are still close friends to this day. Whenever we see each other, we get a glimmer of light in our eyes because we know of the connection that we had, and we know of the teachings that Pura Fay and Carl Anthony and Reggie gave us. Mm. And Pura Fay came to class with a Native American hand drum. And I grew up watching men play drum, but to see this woman playing this drum with her magnificent otherworldly voice, I was taken aback as a young singer, just an aspiring singer. And she empowered me as a young girl. She allowed us to play the drum and shared the stories of how the drum was given to a woman first, and that it was okay for us to use the drum and to sing. And I remember going to UNC Pembroke, which is the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. It's a 4-year university right in the middle of our town. It was actually the first 4-year university established in the country for natives. And at the time, it was called Croatan Indian Normal School. But I remember going on the campus and seeing Pura Fay perform with Eulalie, with Jennifer Kreisenberg and Sonny. And I'd never heard a sound like that before. I grew up in the church and grew up hearing some of those harmonies, but I'd never heard some of our languages being sung with those harmonies that felt and sounded like home. And so that listening to them sing and then following up and finding the album Mox Chi and learning all of the songs on that album had a huge impact on me as a singer. Well, fast forward to my mid-20s, and Pure Faye wanted to bring back Eulalie in a way to share with audiences and kind of form a reiteration of Eulalie. So she started Eulalie Project and invited me to join, along with another one of my sisters, Layla Locklear. And Layla's a couple years younger than I am, but along with Jennifer, Layla, myself, and Pure Faye, we formed Eulalie Project. And so that's how I was brought into the fold of the Eulalie family and movement and sound. And I'll be forever grateful for Pure Faye. I consider her a close friend and family member of mine. And I love her just like a sister, just like a relationship that's going to extend beyond our lifetime. So, and I've traveled with Pure Faye. We, as Eulalie Project, we sang at the People's Climate March up in New York City. I think that was around 2014. And we visited other places. We visited Corrales, New Mexico years ago as Eulalie Project, and we performed at the United Nations, just out there representing, representing for women, representing for our people, and using the drum and some of our ancestral styles of singing as the vehicle to educate others. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from her about our culture, about our ways, about our history down in North Carolina.
It can't get any better than that, because
Yeah.
there's nothing more tragic than lost culture, lost language, lost people. I have a lot of respect for the Lumbee tribe. I had a beautiful Indigenous elder on about 4 or 5 months ago. Her name's Judy Stout, and she herself is profoundly deaf, and she's a retired woman. She lives right there in Pembroke, but she's a huge role model in deaf community, and she's done a lot of work with the Indigenous Native youth and disabled people, and she still does now. And when she's not doing that, her and her husband are cruising around in their RV, checking out the country.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a super empowered woman. And she was on our show, and she told us that she told us a story where back in the day, I think it was like back in the 50s or something, the KKK came in and did some crazy mass, but these Lumbees just jumped in and pretty much scared them off and said, you get out of here. You don't be behaving like that to people. And she just told all kinds of really wicked stories like that. And
that's the story of the Battle of Hayes Pond.
Right.
It happened in Maxton, North Carolina, which is like the neighboring town to Pembroke. And Robeson County, the county where I'm from and currently live, it's very diverse. Well, equal parts, just about equal parts, Native, Black, white folks, and now we have a Hispanic population there. But back in the day, everything was segregated into 3 parts around the Jim Crow era and the Civil Rights era. And so around the late 50s, there were threats of the Ku Klux Klan coming to town because of, it was either an Indigenous man, I think it may have been a Native man, was dating a white woman. Something about a relationship, and the Klan didn't like that. And so they planned to host a rally in our homelands. And growing up, hearing this story in elementary school, it was often romanticized. It was like, oh, the Klan came, they had a tussle, and we ran them out. We made them leave. But now we have some folks who are reaching out to some of our elders who were a part of that fight that evening, and they're really starting to come out and speak their truths, to speak their stories, to talk about what really happened that night. And so the clan sets, the story goes that they set up one light, like a street light. They erected a light and in the middle of a field. And as soon as they erected that light and turned it on, all of the people that were there, our warriors, came out of the woods, came out of the swamps, and pretty much like ambushed them, and a fight ensued. And what I'm learning now is that there were women there. We didn't hear about these women that were at the Battle of Hayes Pond, but there's a YouTube videos up now, and you have one of our elder women saying that her husband or boyfriend at the time told her that he was going to this fight or going to stop the KKK and what was happening. And she was like, well, I'm going to go too. And so she grabbed whatever weapon she wanted and brought it along and was a part of that. And I love the fact that our women were there representing. But that story received a lot of media attention back in the day. We have two of our Lumbee Tuscarora men. Let's not forget about our folks who identify as Tuscarora back home. They were just a huge part of the battle as well. And there's two of the men on the cover of an old Life magazine with the KKK flag on their back, and they're just smiling in victory because of the fact that we've won and stopped them from trying to run over us in our homelands.
It's
a great story. Yeah, I love it.
I think the best part of that story is you got the oral Indigenous perspective and story, as opposed to a journalist coming in and,
That's right. It's our people telling it. And now that maybe they've been able to heal from some of that trauma of having to grow up in times like that. But now I'm so thankful that our elders are now feeling comfortable to really speak out the truths and tell the story of what happened, that our women are coming forward.
That's right. That's right. I'm wondering, what do you see for yourself in the future? Like, do you have like okay, today we got a plan Friday, you're going to play live at the festival, but like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And what kind of footprint would you like to leave on this planet?
Well, I feel strongly that, I can make some change as a singer and a songwriter, as an artist. And yes, I sing, but I also like to act. And I've also, always been intrigued by theater. And so I would like to eventually tell that story of the Battle of Hayes Pond on Broadway, create a musical for Broadway. I would like to, one of my goals is to win a Grammy. There are artists out there who are like, award shows, awards, they don't mean it. They don't mean, but how many Grammy Indigenous winners do we have in mainstream categories? And so that's one of my goals, is to win it. It'll be nice for myself as an accomplishment, but it's more for our people to say that we can do this. You see this, it's for my people back home in Robeson County. We are some of the best singers in the whole wide world. And Pure Faye will tell you that. She said it so many times. We've got some of the best singers at home. And I want to, just by winning that, just show them and encourage them to try to reach for the stars, that it can be done. And so that's one of my goals within the next 5 years. Sometimes it's hard for even me to see it, when you get so bombarded by things that are happening every day in society. But you just have to ground yourself and remember your ancestors. Like we were talking about, the 7 generations. remember your ancestors and their fights, and think about the children in the future, and how can you just make their load a little lighter. So those are two of my two visions that I have for my music career. And then also to build up the arts community back home even more, to build venues, to give our folks outlets to perform and showcase. And then to just continue to travel around the world and try to unite our people through the arts.
If there's anything we can do, man, we're pretty well connected and
this helps. Steps like this are what's going to make the impact. You know, eventually we're going to reach a tipping point and it's going to explode. And we're doing a great job. I think we're fortunate to live, you know, where we are being more visible and do have more representation. The doors are opening. Thankful to folks like you know, Indigenous Ways, who are creating these platforms. And we're starting to get more visibility on television, and it's a good time for us.
Yeah, we got a couple of messages that there's some Kiwi folks from New Zealand that are going to be going to our festival Friday as well. So I think there's some Maoris coming around, and it'd be amazing to see somebody Maori, and, you know, Elena's Maori and Samoan, 50-50. So it'd be nice to meet somebody like her in this town as well, because there is none. She's the only person here like that. So she's definitely pretty exotic for this part of the world. So that's really cool. We got Elena. Thank you, Elena, for being with us here in America.
Yes.
We're really blessed to have her. So what is your advice to Generation Z? And now we're into the Generation A momentum of childbirth. What do you want to tell them, for the Indigenous people?
To try our best to just continue to exercise our sovereignty in as many ways as possible, even like through the arts. I try to do it through the arts and the content, the messages and the songs that I sing, to try to relate to Native and non-Native audiences, or even to the foods that we eat. Just exercise and practice sovereignty and allow it to give you power, to empower you and give you strength.
Well, you know, I know we're not set up for it, but I would sure love it if you would be willing to do something a cappella for us, even if it's just 30 seconds or up to 2 minutes, a Proud Mary or a Native chant or something. Can we just hear a little tiny piece of you? It'll sound.
Let's see. Here, this is I'm really big on just protecting Mother Earth, and grew up with the land just outside as a child. So I really love the earth and love being outside. And this is a song called Mother Earth. And I collaborated with a hip hop artist in Greensboro, North Carolina. His name is Justin Harrington. His artistry name is Demeanor. And this song talks about the fact that, like, human beings are pretty much parasites here on Earth. We just continue to take from the earth and just pillage and pick at the earth. And no matter how much we do that, she still gives us bounty and still keeps us. And so this song is just a thank you, and it's called Mother Earth. And I'll pretend I've got a hand drum. Just a bit traumatized and a bit traumatized. I don't throw a fit, still I pick, still I rise, yes, yeah, that's right. I ain't trying to fight, I'm just trying to be strong. So I'm trying to right the right or wrong. And mother, you do us right when we do you wrong. Mother, way, yo, yane, yo, way, yo, mother, way, yo, yane, yo, way, I, just a bit traumatized and a bit traumatized. I don't throw a fit, I stay fixed. Still I rise, still I rise. Yeah, that's right. I ain't trying to fight. I'm just trying to be strong. So I'm trying to right a wrong. And mother, you do us right when we do you wrong.
You're doing it, yeah. That's really, really beautiful. Thank you. Very good message. And boy, it is so true.
Yep.
True. Speaking of Mother Earth,
Yep.
speaking of Mother Earth, I've been hearing a lot about cultural appropriation since I was little, and I'm still hearing a lot about it now. There seems to be some changes with namesakes and so forth. What does cultural appropriation mean to you? And do you have any advice to any of the Indigenous people of how they can deal with it when they see it?
Well, we all know as soon as Halloween rolls around, that seems to be one of the favorite times of year. Halloween, I've even been thinking about Thanksgiving and cultural appropriation then. Just try to learn as much as you can about your people and where you come from so that you can, stand up for yourselves and be able to educate folks when you do see these things happening. And I do encourage Indigenous folks to address these wrongs. If you see them out in public or on social media, I do encourage to educate, take it as an opportunity to educate, because we think about, their parents and their grandparents and the way that they viewed Indigenous people and the levels of disrespect and just the levels of ignorance and just not knowing. But that doesn't account for the younger generations. I feel like I've reached a point as an adult that I can safely address it. And a lot of sometimes it can be hard to even recognize cultural appropriation or even realize the history of where these things come from. So just take the time to educate yourselves. I know that really wasn't the best answer, but
no, it's just when we see it and when somebody's doing it, the big question is, do they know they're doing it? Because
right.
A lot of people are just saying, man, I like what they're doing, so I'm doing it too, and I'm really good at it, so I'm selling it, and I've learned about it, so I'm talking about it, and nobody told me no different, and I'm making a good living now, and I'm not doing anything wrong. And then there's all this kind of ration and reasoning around it, and it's just,
I've got an interesting example with UNC Pembroke, the college back home at Pembroke. Our mascot is actually the brave and the red-tailed hawk. We use a lot of our hawks are from the house. Okay, the red-tailed hawk is our bird. Like they're common and they're ours from like Eastern North Carolina. And so in that sense, whenever the university's using that as a mascot, I think for us coming from there, it gives us a sense of pride in that way. We feel a sense of pride, one, because it was our people that started the university in the late 1800s. We allowed the state government or the legislature who helped to start the university, we gave them our land to put our university on to educate our people. And so now today, when we see that hawk flying or we see the brave mascot, for us, it represents pride in who we are versus cultural appropriation. So and that goes back to knowing your history and educating yourselves and being able to distinguish between what's cultural appropriation and what's instilling pride in future generations.
Beautiful. I really like that. That sounds super empowering. So in your 20 years of music business, and then getting up to that point to acquire the courage to get out and even do that, we all know what it's like to get out there on the stage for the first time or the first 100 times, depending on if it's 10 people at a family reunion or 1,000 people or however many, or even online. What are two of the most important things that you hold close, near and dear in your heart when you hit a wall and that little crash comes down and that old voice comes back and says, "You're not good enough"? Do you have something that you can share with us, like two really good things that maybe we can take for ourselves and say, you know what, I'm gonna take Charlie's lead on this, because we all got it.
Ugh. The times when and I'll be honest, a 10-person crowd makes me more nervous than a larger crowd, but that's just me. I found that with proper preparation, like preparation and practice, and I'll be honest, it's something that I me personally, rarely do. But those times when I'm 100% prepared and I've practiced, I don't hear any of those negative voices. I don't hear anything. I feel prepared. I feel confident. I feel unstoppable. I feel like I belong. I feel like I'm supposed to be there. And that just comes with like disciplining yourself a little bit and preparing, and also praying. Whenever I'm in preparing for a set or in preparation, I'm in constant prayer. I'm in constant prayer and asking, prayer and giving thanks for the opportunity, because there was a time when I physically couldn't do it, had to really push myself hard. And there were times when my body just wouldn't allow me to do it. And so I think about those times when I was down, and I tell myself, as long as you can literally put one foot in front of the other, then you can work towards your goals, and you can work toward seeing your dreams become a reality. And so I try to keep that in mind when I'm about to step on a stage. It's like, Charlie, one time you couldn't do this, so seize the opportunity and get it done. And then I hear my mother's voice in my head, who was she was just my number one supporter, but she passed in 2017. But my whole life, she like sacrificed so much of her time and to pour into me to fulfill my dreams. And so when I'm getting down or feeling the imposter syndrome, I hear her voice in my head that was like, "Baby, you're going to make it. I can feel it. I can feel it. You're going to make it." And I just, I can hear that, and that offers me encouragement and kind of grounds me as well, because I think about her, and I think about home, and I think about my people in that particular area of the world. And just like, it's bigger than me. So I forget about myself, and I know that I'm representing other people.
There's nothing like home. There's nothing like our people. There's nothing like our tribe. We're very blessed this evening to have my beautiful mother and my stepfather beaming in from Chinle, Arizona.
All right.
Really, really blessed to have my mother. Hi, Mom. Love you. And our sister, Michelle. She's with us tonight also. It's good to have family, family supporting what we're doing, like the bigger picture. We have other relatives, but, a lot of people are busy, or they're without infrastructure. So a lot of our people, especially on Black Mountain, there's no such thing as a Wi-Fi connection to be able to get onto this Zoom channel. I'm sure they would like to, but maybe someday, they'll be able to join some of the comforts of clicking into Join Indigenous Ways launch, because we have our beautiful ASL interpreters that are extremely culturally sensitive and highly qualified to welcome in our Indigenous brothers and sisters who are deaf and hard of hearing. And we have a beautiful family here tonight, family of choice. Our brother Cress, it's his sign name. He's here with his beautiful father. And they're sitting right here. We have a live audience in here from California and Wisconsin. We have some Lumbee sisters in the studio with you.
Yeah, I got some. Hey, if anybody's from home watching, I got some our people. We're here together.
Yeah,
A crowd from Baltimore.
Yeah.
So a little bit of history about our people is that we've got huge pockets in Baltimore, Maryland, and up around Detroit and Warrenton, Michigan. Around the 40s, 50s, 60s, a lot of our people left seeking out better opportunities for themselves and their families, and they followed the automotive industries to those places. And so we're fortunate to have our tribal, our people spread out throughout the country.
I think there's over 55,000 of Lumbees, and I also hear that you also welcome in other tribes way back in the day when people needed refuge from all kinds of just all that conflict that was happening, back in the day, long before any of us were born. But
Right.
it's nice to know.
Yeah,
that.
always. I try to still give not try to still give. I respect and am often taken aback when I think about the sacrifices that our elders made so that I could sit here today and be talking with you. They went through a lot and still do as people on the front lines of some of the contact here to the US. We did what we could. We did the best that we could, fought hard, and we're very resilient and still are, and knew our way through the swamps. We knew how to navigate. That was our land, and lands that the colonists didn't want. That was ours, and we've still occupied that land.
Right.
And I'm just thankful for the sacrifices that they made.
Thank you for saying that. I feel exactly the same way. The 4 sacred mountains of the Navajo Nation and our ancestors went through so that we could be back there after the 1863 long walk to Bosque Redondo and Fort Sumner in New Mexico from Arizona. A horrific forced walk. And we got to go back, and now we're back. But right now we all need an economy that works. We need infrastructure that works. We need incentives to bring people back, because people want to go back, but there's no work. That's the thing, unless you want to be a teacher or work in a hospital, and those are sparse as well. So the movement keeps happening. We've got our youth that are just impressing the heck out of me. Our Gen Zs and Gen A's are taking all this kind of stuff to a new level. And they're using this in the beauty way to connect and to collaborate and to create and to entertain, educate through entertainment, and just getting so creative. And I'm really, for the first time in my life, really interested in listening to these Indigenous hip hop artists and say, what their struggles, it's my struggle when I was young. It's my struggle still today now as I'm middle age, and it's going to be my struggle as I get older and become an elder. And the intergenerational respect of our peoples is so beautiful that we just honor our elders. At least we're supposed to. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to be. And then, of course, our children are precious little gems. And it's just beautiful, that whole intergenerational, and of course with Indigenous ways, intertribal, intercultural. I mean, all bridges come in and no walls are put up for anybody. The only thing we ask is be nice. That's all we ask. That's the only way to become a part of our world family is just be nice.
Yes.
and with love,
Uplift one another.
right,
Continue to uplift one another. Yeah.
right, with love and support, good things happen. And
Hmm.
good things happen, and good things are happening right now. And I'm just so excited. I just don't even want this weekend to end. I want it to go on for 20 years, but it's going to be like that, boom. And it's going to be
Yeah.
like,
Last year was my first time attending market. I had heard about it, growing up and through the years, and I made it a point to try and lock in some performances last year, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself and made sure to go ahead and put it on my calendar for this year. And so I'm thankful to be back in the area. I come every couple of months. I've just started now coming out here to perform every couple of months, but
right.
I always look forward, or will continue to look forward to this time of year.
Well, you know what? In the Indigenous world of the arts, we are seeing you, we are following you, we are loving you, we're hearing you, and we can't wait to hear more and more and more. And we will continue to support you and create platforms for you, Charlie.
Thank you
Before I
so much.
sign off and let Elena come in for a quick commercial break, I wanted to ask you, what does gathering mean to you?
Gathering, as in
And just the
gathering,
word, yeah, just
just
the word. Just what does it pop up? Like what pops in your head with that one word, gathering? It could be anything. It could be conceptual, metaphorical, literal.
not knowledge, gaining knowledge, inquisitiveness, being curious to inspire change. When you gather things and you make something out of the things that you gather, use it. Don't just let it go to the wayside. That's what I think of when I hear gather. What
That's
can you do with what you've gathered?
that's
Know what you're gathering. Know what you're looking for.
yes. And the thought that came to my head is fall. We're in fall now.
Oh yes. Uh-huh.
It's
Yes.
not Thanksgiving, it's gather. It's like, let's put it all together.
Mhm.
Get ready. The cold time's coming. The trees are going to change. And I'm going to stop now so I can let this wonderful, wonderful team player here take over. Thank you so much, Charlie. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tash, and thank you so much, Charlie. You know, we were very, very blessed to meet you a year ago around
Yep.
this Indian market, and a lot of that was one of our featured artists last year was the one and only Keith Sokola.
That's right.
And I don't
Yeah.
know what happened, but people came back here, and in you walked, and we're jamming out in the studio. And I remember Keith saying, "Hey, Charlie, you want to play something?" And you're like, "Oh, okay." And then you picked up the guitar, and you're under this little cap, and I was like, And then when you opened your mouth, I looked at Tash. I said, Tash, you need to get her next year for the Indigenous Ways Festival. So I'm really grateful that you're here. Thank you so much for blessing us. And also getting to know you more, and my heart deepens because you're what we're about. You know, it's about the people and about the gift of giving and the gifts that you have. And so, really see you, Charlie. So, thank you so much for your walk. So, I'm just
Thank
going to do a little commercial break, and then we're going to come back and invite others in for remaining time. Mark your calendars, third Wednesday of the month, which will be Wednesday, September the 20th. We have the beautiful Dr. Molly Big Knife, who is Shawnee, Munsee, Delaware, Cherokee, Irish, and English. She is a professor at Arizona University. She also is an executive director of the nonprofit Pollen Circles. She has been doing amazing, amazing things like the beautiful Charlie has in the community. So we're going to have a lovely chin wag with her next week. So be sure to mark that on your calendars. We would love to see you. You know, in the next 24 hours, This video of Charlie is going to be available at our website, IndigenousWays.org. There are over 200 presenters, Native, Indigenous, LGBTQIA2S+, our Rainbow Family, and deaf and hard of hearing presenters that have been doing extraordinary things. So they're all archived there. We started this the 1st of April 2020. That was to keep our beloved communities connected. And through doing that, we've grown a worldwide audience. So if you want to hear more about that, if you go to our website, IndigenousWays.org, yeah, you can subscribe to our newsletter and see all the things that have been coming up. Below us, you'll see flashing all the wonderful social media pages. So if you are watching on social media at the moment or you're looking at the recording of this, please like and subscribe to our pages. We would really love that. And this is all possible. Paying our artists, our presenters like Charlie, more than what they're worth. That's what it's about. So we want to thank our sponsors, the National Endowment of the Arts, the City of Santa Fe Arts and Culture Department, Santa Fe Community Foundation, and that's the Envision Fund, and New Mexico Arts. Also, we have board members presently in here as well as online, and we want to thank them for their time, and also all our individual donors that have allowed us to keep this format going and hearing the our community and these amazing things like what Charlie has been talking about, the heart, the heart, the heart, amazing walk of what she's been doing and all that she's about. Now, we're pretty jazzed because uh, coming up next month, or not next month, this Friday. So what's that? 2 sleeps away is the Indigenous Ways Festival. This will be our 8th. We started last year, and our 3rd for the year and our final for the year. You have just heard the amazing Charlie Lowry. She will be blessing us on stage on Friday, as well as Indigiqueer artist, uh, Black Belt Eagle Scout, who will be opening, followed by our producer and also Joy Harjo's producer, Larry Mitchell, and then he'll be jumping on a plane to going to Australia. And then we've got Charlie, and then closing the evening is 3-time poet laureate nationally, the one and only Joy Harjo. So it's a really exciting time. If you are here in Santa Fe, we are asking everyone to RSVP. If you're not in Santa Fe, don't worry, we're beaming this out live. So again, you can go to our website, whether you're in person or uh, watching it live wherever you are in the country and the world, this amazing thing. So it's going from 5 o'clock to 9 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. So we'd love to see all of you. And as you can see, all our wonderful sponsors down below there. I also want to give a plug to the beautiful Lensic 360. They are sponsoring Black Belt Eagle Scout. So we're really excited with all these wonderful collaborations and partnerships and sponsorships that we have, because we wouldn't be able to do it without you. As Charlie was mentioning, it is Indian Market Weekend here in Santa Fe. So if you miss us on Friday, we're going to be having our Indigenous Ways booth at Free Indian Market at Federal Park. And at noon on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be playing. So we'd love to see you. What else is going on? We've got a donation page, but what's actually going on is we had a wonderful donor. We're very excited about this, who gave $50,000 in a matching grant thanks to the Rainbow Lizards gathering. And so, what's happening up to the festival, we're pitching any amount of money that you contribute doubles. So, if that's $5, that's going to $10. $20 is 40, $100 is 200, 1,000 is 2,000. So, if you're able to give, go to our website and on the donate page, you'll see the matching grant. That's how we're able to do all of the things we're doing, supporting amazing artists like Charlie, having ASL interpreters. We've got Mariah here and also Chris Esiano. And we've got 6 ASL interpreters that will be at the Indigenous Ways Festival. Why? Because we have a huge deaf presence there. And communication access is very, very important. So if you can give, we would love you to support us. That's what's going on. And then Tash, I'm going to turn it back to you. And while that's happening, in the little time that we have, I'm unmuting and turning the videos on. Oh, we're actually at the top of the
Okay.
hour. I don't know.
Yeah, we
I'm
are.
going to let you do this, Tash.
We are at the top of the hour, but I just wanted to just say that Indigenous Ways is really grateful. And as Elena said, the hardest part of this running this nonprofit is fundraising. So we fundraise and we want to be able to certainly support our artists, and we can never pay an artist what they're worth, because an artist is worth everything, because art is what keeps the world going. Art is what keeps peace on earth. Art is what inspires stories. Art is what links people to community, food, dance, friendships, romance, past, present, future. So we love you, Charlie, and thank you for supporting Indigenous Ways. As much as we support you, you support us. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
glad we've connected. Glad we've connected.
For who you are. You're beautiful.
Oh, you are so amazing. And thank you, everyone, for beaming in. I'm sorry I talked so long. We ran out of time. But we're really grateful that all of you took the time to bless us, whether you're watching it live now on Zoom or over on social media, or you're watching the recording of this. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to seeing you next month with Dr. Molly Bigknife. That's Wednesday, September the 20th. Otherwise, we'd love to see you in person and give you a big hug this Friday at the Indigenous Ways Festival at the Santa Fe Rail Yard Park, 5 to 9, or else we'll see you live on the net. And with that beautiful note, let's give it up for the one and only Charlie Larry! Woo-hoo-hoo!
Talk to me. Look in the mirror. We're still alive. We're still alive. So much more to see. Take a breath. Step outside. Feel the rain.